Tonight on Reporting Scotland, Scots caught up in the Manchester Arena terror attack remember the 22 people who lost their lives at a concert 12 months ago.
Music's like part of us and
it's how we met.
It's hard to go back to a concert without feeling that fear that something's going to happen.
A 14-year-old girl from Barra died in the attack. We'll hear from those who knew her. Also on the programme, people living with drug addiction face treatment waiting times of up to 6 months in some parts of Scotland. The Bank of England's governor says a currency union between an independent Scotland and the rest of the UK would be economically possible. Dundee is named as one of the best places in Europe to visit, according to a leading travel guide. And the Scottish Football Association's new boss says he wants to inspire the nation to play, watch and talk football. Good evening. Many Scots joined the service of remembrance in Manchester Cathedral this afternoon, paying tribute to the 22 people whose lives were lost in the bomb attack a year ago and offering their comfort and support to those who survived. Among the victims, 14-year-old Ailey MacLeod from the island of Barra. Our reporter Rebecca Curran has spent the day in the city and joins us now.
Yes, Sally, it's been a day of remembrance, reflection and resilience. This is a city that is still coming to terms with what happened here 12 months on. But today, people from all over the country came together in a show of unity. There was a service at Manchester Cathedral of commemoration. It was broadcast at other cities across the country, including in Glasgow. And the family of 14-year-old Ailey MacLeod, who was killed in the attack from Barra, they were there at that service. They joined the family and friends of other victims and also survivors. The service marked the start of another very important day in the city's history.
22 candles, one for each life lost 1 year ago today. One for 14-year-old Ailey MacLeod from Barra, killed attending her first pop concert with her friend Laura McIntyre. Families joined friends and victims at a service of commemoration at Manchester Cathedral.
I welcome each one of you to this national service of commemoration.
First Minister Nicola Sturgeon and Prime Minister Theresa May joined the Duke of Cambridge, Prince William, to pay their respects and take part in a 1-minute silence. Outside, the sun shone as people from Manchester and beyond gathered to mark one of the city's darkest days. Among them, Chelsea Aitchison and Nicola Lamplugh from Glasgow. They were at the concert that night. It's the first time they've been back.
I think because we were near the front it wasn't as bad because you kind of could pretend that there wasn't as many people behind you.
Yeah, definitely.
But also it was emotional, so you were like caught up in the emotion, so you didn't really take notice to the crowds behind you.
Yeah.
My mum's down with me and so is Chelsea's mum.
I think it was really important to show respect to the 22 that had lost their lives and to their families and also to the ones who had been injured.
Oh my God!
22 people were killed when suicide bomber Salman Abedi detonated his homemade device. It's estimated 800 were injured, some physically, many more psychologically. The pain here is still raw, attached to a trail of 28 trees, written tributes, messages of hope and solidarity. These girls didn't know her, but they brought a teddy to lay for fellow Scot Ailey MacLeod.
We just wanted our friends and family to know that she's thought of. Yeah, she's thought of dearly, and although it was Manchester and this city is amazing, but I think she doesn't get as much attention just because she is obviously from Scotland. So yeah, we just wanted to make sure she was thought of.
Tonight, this city will come together again in a mass sing-along. A fitting tribute to honour those who went to a music concert but never came back, or saw their lives changed forever.
400 miles away, but a world apart from that busy city centre, one tiny Scottish community was feeling the grief and loss just as keenly as those in Manchester. In the past year, one family has had to cope with the loss of a young girl and another helped a child to heal. As the months have passed, the residents of Barra have kept their grief private, gathering strength from each other. Ian McInnes reports.
The Outer Hebridean island of Barra lost one of their own, Piper Ailey MacLeod, at just 14 years of age.
She lived her life with a smile in her face, but a smile in her heart, and we will always be thankful for that.
A lover of all types of music, she had made the long journey from her island home to the concert in Manchester. Her loss was felt acutely in this small community.
It was a horrendous situation to be in for anybody, for any head teacher, for any school, for any family, for any community. But we dealt with it.
But from the devastation came hope. Ailey's friend Laura stood beside her at the concert, survived, and after treatment has since returned to school.
It really has been a miracle with Laura. I have prayed with the parish and with the island here for Laura that this day would come, and we have been so overwhelmed by how Laura has done. She has done remarkable.
Despite the sadness which surrounded the island as a result of a tragedy so far from their shores, the community have come together over the past year, remembering Ailey and supporting the families affected.
When we get really knocked down, you have to get up, and we have done that as an island. And even the young ones, I see a great strength in the young. A year on, we keep going. The wheel and the cogs of the wheel are still going round, and we're there for each other.
And as a year passes since Ailey's death, the message from the island of Barra is one of remembrance, hope, and of community spirit.
And that hope and community spirit is reflected here in Manchester too. It's clear that no one is going to forget the events of last May. Now they're here in Manchester or anywhere else in the country, but today's events were designed to bring people together. And tonight here in Albert Square, Manchester will sing. More than 3,000 voices will join together in harmony. More than 80 choirs are involved. You can maybe see some of them are arriving as we speak. Just another show of the spirit of solidarity that is no doubt giving comfort and strength to many.
Rebecca, thank you very much indeed. BBC Scotland has found that some people addicted to drugs are having to wait up to 6 months for treatment, such as methadone. The Scottish Government says it's investing additional money in drug treatment and is working to tackle the underlying causes of addiction. Our correspondent Lucy Adams has this exclusive report.
Chris loves playing football. What makes this game more unusual is that Chris is addicted to drugs and alcohol, as are some of his teammates. Scottish Premiership side Hamilton Academical aims to provide a safe space and support for those battling addiction.
Football brings us where you've got to mingle with people, where you've got to learn, you've got to keep my fitness up. So that's a big bonus as well, because obviously that's taking you away from your addiction.
He came out of prison 3 weeks ago, but has been told he'll have to wait about 3 months to get treatment, even to get a methadone script. Football's his only distraction while he's waiting, and while he's not playing, he says he's taking drugs and alcohol.
Just drinking, taking drugs constantly, you've got to then get out with you've got and obviously with your pals and mingling with the wrong people, you've got and obviously getting yourself into the bother, but you've got and then all of a sudden you end up back in the same sort of downward spiral.
And that's just because you're waiting and there's nothing else on offer?
Yeah.
BBC Scotland has found that on average it takes around 3 months for people to get a methadone prescription.
Currently waits potentially between 3 and 6 months are the longest waits that we've observed across the country. And actually it can be as a matter of life and death for people not getting access quickly enough.
This Scottish Government drugs advisor says users need to be seen faster.
They need to be fast-tracked into some sort of serious supportive intervention. And we've lost the capacity to do that effectively, having shifted funds and shifted our attention towards a more recovery-based intervention.
At the start of his football career, Colin McNair had the world at his feet.
It was a dream come true for me. That's all I'd ever dreamed of all my life. I wanted to be a football player. And I was fortunate enough to make it at the very top level. Hearts, Falkirk, Motherwell, before I'm the age of 21. Then I got introduced and I tried a bit of drugs. And it was just a downward spiral very quickly.
Over the next 25 years, Colin lost everything. He spent time in prison and ended up begging on the streets of Glasgow.
I would say the lowest point when I knew I needed help was when I was sitting begging in the street, or when my mental health got shot to pieces. And the drugs had stopped working. They'd only took away the physical withdrawal. And basically I wanted to die at the end of my using, but I didn't have the courage to end my life.
He says treatment and support in recovery is critical.
First time it took 6.5 months. I thought I would get in because I'd never been in treatment before, and it took 6.5 months, but they say it's a process we need to go through. There's thousands of people wanting the kind of help that you're wanting. As I say, so it's just a matter of when your number comes up, we'll give you a call.
He now spends his time volunteering, helping other people in addiction and recovery. The Scottish Government says it is investing more in treatment, but says it's also important to tackle drug users' chaotic lifestyle. Scotland's problem with drugs has been well documented. Less has been said about the thousands like Colin and Chris who are working to turn their lives around, something experts say can only be done if they're not left waiting for help.
And Lucy is with me now. Lucy, this story combined with yesterday's looking at calls for drug users not to be penalised has caused quite a stir in the Scottish Parliament today.
Yes, it has. Both today's story about treatment and the revelation on the BBC yesterday that Scotland's drug deaths will keep rising, and that experts believe that merits a very different approach. But we also looked at problems within that existing approach, and we found that whilst there's a national target for 90% of drug users to be seen within 3 weeks, and most areas are meeting that, that's just an appointment. In reality, for many people, it can be 3 to 6 months before they actually receive medical treatment, be that a methadone prescription or some sort of residential rehabilitation. Now, only around 40% of users in Scotland are actually in treatment, compared to around 60% in England. And that was some of what was being argued about in the Scottish Parliament today.
News reports today that suggest that those addicted to drugs are waiting weeks for appointments, so technically within the target, but are then waiting up to 6 months for treatment. Will the Minister commit to look into these shocking waiting times and ensure that those who need help, and particularly those who are actively seeking help, are not waiting months to begin their treatment?
We absolutely understand that there's more that needs to be done, and that's why there's the 20 million that's been pledged through the programme for government. We'll be able to ensure that we can make that medical response as appropriate and as timely to help these people.
So politically, drugs is a pretty divisive issue. The Tories want everyone caught with them to be penalised, and today they accuse the Scottish Government of veering towards a soft touch approach. Now that's after we revealed yesterday that their own advisor is in favour of legalisation. But Ms Campbell, the Public Health Minister, hit back at that, saying they totally missed the point. She said she wants to penalise those who profit from drugs while supporting those trapped in addiction. Now, the Greens and the Liberal Democrats said the Conservatives' mantra of just say no is out of date and unacceptable. And Ms Campbell said that she's going to keep pushing the Home Office to either change the law or devolve drugs policy to Scotland.
Lucy, thank you very much for all of that. The Governor of the Bank of England says it would be economically possible for an independent Scotland to have a currency union with the rest of the UK. Mark Carney had told a Treasury Select Committee it would be for others to decide whether it was politically desirable. His comments come as the SNP prepares to publish its findings on economic policy options for an independent Scotland. Well, our political correspondent Nick Eardley is in Westminster tonight. Nick, how significant is this?
Sally, we are going to hear a lot this week about the currency Scots might use if the country ever votes for independence. That report you mentioned is due out on Friday. And one of the reasons it was commissioned was because currency was seen as a bit of an Achilles heel for the Yes campaign back in 2014. The Yes campaign argued that there would be a currency union with the rest of the UK, but the main parties down here all said they wouldn't sign up to one. What the Bank of England's governor has been saying today is that there is no economic rule that means a currency union isn't possible. He says, yes, you'd want UK-wide arrangements to make sure it was effective, but ultimately that would be a political decision for politicians with their political hats on. Now, is this a game changer in the currency or indeed the independence debate? No, I don't think it is, because the UK government could still argue it's not going to sign up. There are too many risks involved, and indeed many who are expecting that report on Friday think it might err towards another option, that of a new currency for an independent Scotland. And of course, we don't even know yet if there's definitely going to be another referendum.
Nick Eardley at Westminster, thank you very much. Research shows that around a third of men in Scotland have a previous criminal conviction. That's according to Release Scotland, a new organisation set up to help those with a record find a job. Release say the vast majority of companies would not consider recruiting someone with a past that included offending. Joanne Macaulay has more.
Another day at the depot for train engineer Chris McConkie, seen here in the orange overalls. He loves his job, but it was hard to get. After a 6-month prison sentence for assault, he found many employers wouldn't look at him.
A lot of people can be judgmental, which I can kind of understand, but I feel there's a lot of great talent that lose out because they're not getting the opportunity to sell themselves in the interview, it doesn't benefit the employers either.
The organisation launching today, Release Scotland, aims to help people with convictions to find work and to change attitudes.
At the moment, 75% of employers across the UK have admitted that they reject any application out of hand if it shows any sign of a conviction. And that's unfortunate, because people who come out of their prison sentence or community sentence who find work are far less likely to re-offend.
Virgin Trains is one of the companies already recruiting in prisons.
If you look for talent and you look beyond people's past, whether they've got a criminal record or not, you can identify people of talent, people who've got a lot to give.
Release Scotland will be offering advice to businesses who are thinking about giving people with past offences a job. It hopes this will reduce the cycle of re-offending. Joanne Macaulay reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
You're watching BBC Reporting Scotland. It's 12 minutes to 7. A reminder of tonight's top story. Scots have attended the service of remembrance in Manchester Cathedral, paying tribute to the 22 people who died in the bomb attack a year ago. And still to come, the last drama at the Citizens Theatre before the venue's £20 million revamp. Now, it used to be known for its jute, jam and journalism, but today Dundee has been named as one of the top 10 European destinations to visit this summer. It's the only UK entry in the Lonely Planet list and is praised for its growing cultural scene and the transformation of its waterfront. Rachel Bell reports.
Dundee's V&A Museum will open its doors this September. It's the centrepiece of the city's £1 billion waterfront development and one of the reasons why Lonely Planet has chosen Dundee as one of the most exciting and underrated European destinations of 2018.
I have to say, not that surprised. There's a huge amount going on here in the city. V&A Dundee is a really exciting prospect for the city, for the region, for the whole of the country. It's the first design museum in Scotland. It's the first V&A in the world outside London. So I don't think it's that surprising that Lonely Planet are interested.
The travel company describes Dundee as a city with plenty to discover. It praises its dynamic, creative spirit and its ability to attract talent.
I love the way she does her models.
Yeah, that's really good, isn't it?
Yeah.
That creativity is showcased in the University of Dundee's annual degree show. Janine Getty moved from Glasgow to study in Dundee, and she's decided to stay on after graduation.
It's just so many creative ideas flying about, especially with the V&A opening. I think that obviously a lot more creativity coming in that kind of fuels it further, and I just think there's a lot of growth happening here in the next year or so I want to be part of that.
So do members of the public think Dundee deserves its spot on Lonely Planet's Best in Europe list?
I think the V&A is good, but we need more tourist attractions here, yeah.
There's a lot of dynamism in Dundee, but there's also a lot of the opposite. So again, depends what parts of Dundee you go to.
It's not as good as Newcastle, which is where I'm from. No, it seems all right. It's got a nice harbour. I like the new building they've got there.
Visit Scotland says with the arrival of the V&A Museum, this city is becoming the star of the Scottish travel scene. It's hoped that more and more visitors will consider it as a must-visit destination. Rachel Bell reporting Scotland, Dundee.
The Scottish Football Association's new chief executive says its vision is to inspire the nation. Ian Maxwell says he's aware of the challenges ahead for him, and they include qualifying for a major tournament for the first time since 1998. More now from David Curry.
Day 2 in the job, and Maxwell's mid-morning schedule is pose for photos, meet the media, outline manifesto.
The Scottish FA's vision is to inspire a nation. And I think that's hugely important. I think that's exactly what we're here for. You know, I really think that that's what we should be trying to do, and it's, you know, inspiring a nation to engage with football, whether it's playing it, watching it, talking about it at school, at work, in the pub. I mean, Scottish football is consumed at a huge level in this country.
Maxwell made more than 500 appearances for a number of clubs, including St Mirren and Partick Thistle, going on to become assistant manager, then managing director with the latter.
He's taken it upon himself to continue his education in business, and I just think he's level-headed. I think he'll have a good grasp of all of the issues that are facing Scottish football.
Ian Maxwell started his career in football here at Hampden as a player with Queen's Park, the club which owns the stadium. One of the biggest decisions to be taken in his time as chief executive of the SFA is whether it remains the home of Scottish football. The Scottish FA has to decide whether to stay at Hampden Park or to relocate to the home of Scottish rugby at Murrayfield. Do you have to go from being maybe partisan on the issue to now being totally down the middle on it?
No, I don't think I was ever partisan on an issue. Obviously there's a Queen's Park connection, but I'm now making a decision for the full membership and for the whole of Scottish football. That, while it was nice and I've got a lot of fond memories of my time at Queen's Park, it's a much bigger decision than that now, and I need to take that, and the board will take the right one at the right time.
Scottish FA chief executives are usually judged on something over which they have less of an influence, the success or otherwise of the men's national team. And the qualifying campaign for the 2020 Euros isn't that far away. David Curry, reporting Scotland, Hampden Park.
It's billed as a night to remember, the last show to be staged at the famous Citizens Theatre in Glasgow before a multi-million-pound refurbishment. This is the first time in its 140-year history that it's closed its doors completely. Our arts correspondent Pauline McLean reports.
There's a water girl that drives a heavy van. There's a butcher girl.
We're creating a piece of history here, if you like, because it is the last Six production to be in the main stage. So everybody's very sort of conscious of that, and feel incredibly lucky, because I don't know if you're aware that over 200 people applied to be in this show and they could only take 60. That was the maximum capacity, and we were the lucky ones.
Well, feel that! It's like bloody rough cast!
Many actors have trod the boards here over the years, first as the Royal Princess Theatre and then as the Citizens. But it's what's behind the stage which is just as impressive. The original Victorian stage equipment still in use and a visitor attraction in its own right.
I remember the first time that I came here and I went under the stage and looked at all the machinery and the cogs and the wheels and made the scenery go up and down. And it has a really kind of special feel to it. So I think it's really fantastic that people will actually be able to experience that.
But now the challenge is to pack up and move out for the first time in 140 years.
The Citizens Theatre as a company has been here for 70 years, accumulating more and more, and the Citizens tends to be a little bit like the Wombles. Nothing ever gets thrown away, it just gets kind of recycled in a different show in a different way. And generally the departments are always afraid to throw things away in case they're useful, because you never know what's going to be asked for in the next production.
The new theatre will take 2 years to complete, and in the meantime shows like this will go on in other spaces around the city. Pauline McLean, reporting Scotland, Glasgow.
Time to get the latest on the weather. Here's Judith.
Thank you very much, Sally. Well, it's very traditional for this time of year to be dry and settled, and I suspect we'll see more pictures like this over the coming days. Beautiful blue skies there and right across Shetland as well. Blue skies all the way, and it's all because of this expansive, generous area of high pressure that's staying with us right through the week, through the holiday weekend, and there's signs of it hanging around through to the beginning of June as well. A lot of dry, settled weather in the forecast. Good sunny spells for Western Scotland this evening, but as we head through the night, we'll see more in the way of cloud building in the east. It's a low cloud coming in from the North Sea, feeding through the central lowlands come the end of the night. Elsewhere, under clearer skies in the west, we'll see 1 or 2 misty fog patches. Clear skies too for the Northern Isles. Nothing too cold tonight, lows of around 7 Celsius. So tomorrow morning, we'll start to see a few mist or fog patches around initially burning off, but it'll be quite grey through the central lowlands across eastern Scotland. But that mist and low cloud are burning off fairly quickly as we head through the morning, and we'll see plenty of sunshine as we reach the afternoon period. So it'll be a beautiful afternoon for the Northern Isles, and we should see temperatures up to 13, maybe even 14 Celsius, pleasant with light winds. Always cooler along the east coast itself, which may well retain some of that mist and low cloud. Onshore breezes keeping it cooler. You don't have to come too far inland to see those temperatures climbing widely into the high teens. Tomorrow 18, 19 Celsius. Across Western Scotland we could even see 20 degrees, maybe a wee bit fair weather cloud bubbling up for the Western Isles for the afternoon, but certainly not spoiling what will be a grand day. So into tomorrow evening, plenty of sunshine again. We will see that har returning to eastern coastal areas, some of that mist and low cloud filtering through the central lowlands as we head through tomorrow night. That burns off very quickly on Thursday. Plenty of dry and indeed sunny weather in the forecast, and those temperatures set to get that wee bit higher as well into the low 20s. And on Friday we do it all again, getting that wee bit warmer as well. And that's your forecast. Back to you, Sally.
Thanks, Judith. And that's it. I'll be back with more just after the 10 o'clock news. But until then, from everyone on the team here and around the country, have a very good evening. Bye-bye.